that incredible Bolton deck that we were talking about versus Daniel Johnson on Prism. Both players 5-0. This Bolton deck, baby, it just goes hard. But the difference here is that check out Prism. Prism's coming in with a kit. No Halo, which is an incredibly powerful card, especially for Prism. But you have a Ironhide helm. You've got the chest piece. You've got the gloves. And what I love about this, about having all three, is that you basically turn a blue pitch into a 6-block.
Yeah, it's real nice. It's really, really good. Like, I keep saying card equity, but it really is, right? Like, it's just a single card, and you can block. You can get a good old block 6. So we have a immediate Halo activation. This is going to allow Bolton to put a card into his soul. I think turn 1 play for this is reasonable, right? You don't really want to give your opponent kind of what a lot of folks like to call like a free mulligan kind of deal. You just want to be like, hey, oh well, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe I spoke too soon. We're just gonna, we're just gonna charge. We're gonna put more cards into Bolton's soul, and we're just gonna go for it. This is an Express Lightning.
I think this is fine. Again, your objective for Bolton is you want to be able to load up on the soul, right? So being able to just throw out one of the weaker of your attacks, Express Lightning Yellow is coming in for 3. Charge a card, get that going. It allows you to keep one in hand that you're then able to go ahead and bank into the arsenal. Not to mention you're leaking damage because of the fact that if Bolton, if you would block with an attack action card and you've charged, those attack actions that you're sending out there get a nice little boost.
Yeah, Bolton great at leaking on some damage, right? Charging is very, very key for Bolton. It's something we're going to talk about every time we talk about Bolton because Bolton is a very, very card-hungry hero, right? He wants you to pitch for his resources, but he also wants you to put cards into his soul from his charge mechanic. So, keeping a large hand with Bolton is imperative, and stacking up your soul early is also really, really important. Just like Levi did, turn 1, 2 cards in soul, push a little bit of damage. It's kind of like everything you want to do with Bolton in Limited, for sure.
Well, this is the danger of being able to leak damage is because you do have an opportunity now to send an Adrenaline Rush, and this Adrenaline Rush is getting a little bit of a boost from the non-attack action, but ultimately the +3 off of this comes in, I believe, for 7. And
this is a nasty one.
Oh, definitely nasty. If you want to be able to pitch blue, you want to throw hands, and this is one way to do it.
Yeah, I also want to keep an eye on Prism's boots. So it's coming in for 9, actually. It's a big number, right? The boots not going to be coming to play here, but I think it's something we should keep an eye out later in terms of. Well, I was going to say in terms of poppers, but now that I think about it, I actually don't think Bolton has almost any poppers in his deck, if I remember right. I don't think he drafted any Invigorating Lights or anything like that could pop any of these Phantasm cards. Obviously, Daniel doesn't know that, right?
Yeah.
There are some potential poppers, like Stony Wootenhog, but it's just something to keep in mind, and I think something that Daniel's probably keeping in mind. You got to respect the 6 attacks, even if you don't know your opponent doesn't actually have any.
Levi here taking pause here. Looks like he's actually just going to sign for the whole package, saying, that's cool, I got a hand that I want to throw hands with. And this also does turn off potentially future adrenaline rushes. Not that you're taking damage for the uncertain aspect of it, but I think part of it is like, hey, he's recycling this card anyways. As you can see, it goes to the bottom of the deck. If I take my licks now, maybe I'll be able to buy tempo. Maybe they'll block out my return fire here. Or we trade damage and we're back to square one. But ultimately, it's back to Levi here with 2 cards in soul on this really strong Bolton deck that he's starting. He's opening up with the big boy. V of the Vanguard is starting this attack.
Yeah, I was wondering. I'm like, what's going to make you take just 9 to the chin here? I'm like, is he rocking like a V of the Vanguard here to clap back with just a ton of damage? And turns out, yes. Yes, he is. This is one of the absolute key cards for Bolton. Even though it's just a rare, it's a bomb for him. So this is threatening quite a bit. We also have Bolton's hero ability also active because of the charge. So yeah, you gotta really think as Prism okay, you know what? How can I respond to this after blocking? Because
awkward numbers, man. That's what you're creating. And here it goes. So it is already juiced. So 4 goes through. You're going to go ahead and banish a card from Soul. Bolton being able to give this go again from the Soul aspect. What follows suit here? And I believe he charged 1 card?
Yes, I think he did charge 1 card because he started the turn with 2 cards. Charged 1 from hand for the V and the Vanguard. So we get a nice little buff here. But
And Via the Vanguard does also affect the hatchets.
yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how Levi follows this up. 2 cards in hand, 2 resources floating as well. Also, once again, he still has the cards in his soul, which he can use for that go again.
Daniel Johnson took the Via the Vanguard here. Levi Rauch banishing to give it go again. Hatchet of Body is the follow-up here. 1 over the top of the base to attack, meaning that you can banish should you choose to give this go again as well. And then the Hatchet of Mind is going to also get a buff here. And it's funny because Daniel knows that if he throws a card in front of here, it's just going to give extra value. But now the bonus from Hatchet of Mind, because you swung with the Hatchet of Body. So this is a 4. Throw a card in front of this, it becomes a 5. So look at the work that Levi has done here. Levi did take 9, like you said, to the chin. But look at Sir Bolton's chin. It is chiseled. It is made of granite. And he is just, look at that smug look that he's giving because he knows that he's sending it back. And Daniel on the receiving end now.
Absolute Chad, coming back in with a 10+ damage turn, because the turn is not over, right? Levi still has 2 cards in hand, and he's like, you know what, we're going to give this go again as well, because that is not a once per turn attack reaction. I can do that as many times as I have cards in my soul. And
oh, no, that's another one right there. Again, like you have just put in work. This attack is not over yet. However, no cards in soul to banish here.
Correct, but, 14 damage turn in limited. I would say that's pretty strong, right? And this is why you take, like you said, the 9 to the chin when you can dish back 14.
And again, Bolton looking at you, just completely realizing that, yeah, he is much better than you.
He's like, hey, yeah, I just did that. Though I will note, Daniel took a lot of damage this turn. He still has a full grip. 4 cards in hand, 1 card in arsenal. So this could be a situation where it's just kind of like trading blows, or left and right. He's like, I'll take 9, I'll take 14, and I'll clap back for another, 10+. Well, depending on what he's got in his hand.
He's got the Zealous Belting, right? And he's got a Herald to pitch to it in order to give it go again. So that is likely what he's hoping to achieve here. I believe that's an Illuminate as well, 0. So there's an opportunity here to actually pitch the Herald, send the Zealous, and then finish up with an Illuminate. So that is definitely an opportunity here if Daniel has an option to give up a card. And I believe what he's giving up here is a non-attack action, so it's not going to buff. Seek Enlightenment is not going to buff the attack, so he's going to take 2, go to 6. He does have a return fire, though.
Yeah, still has that card in his arsenal, too. I'm not sure if we know what card that is, but either way, even if we don't count that card, I think Daniel's going to have a nice reciprocative turn where he's just going to throw in some big old numbers, right, depending on what color that War Tune is and depending on what color that Zealous is. So it looks like it was a blue War Tune being pitched here to come in with the Zealous Belting. Coming in for 5. With go again.
I think that's yellow. So yellow. Yeah, yellow is a 6 attack. So in order for Zealous Belting to get the go again.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it has to have an attack value greater than the Zealous Belting, of which is 5. So a yellow War Tune Herald being pitched here to give 5 go again. And again, you do have the Illuminate, which is one of the more desirable cards for both Bolton and Prism. It's a 4 attack, costs you nothing, blocks for 3, on hit, go to soul. And both players now desperate to fill their soul.
Yeah, so they just want to feel soul's radiance in their soul. And this is another situation where, as the Bolton player, you got to be like, hey, do I even care that much about this? And he might not. You know what? Levi might not. And it looks like he's just going to take it on the chin, take it on that magnificent chin. And, like you said, got another 4 coming in. This one is a little bit more threatening because, like you said, it does threaten that on-hit effect going into the soul, especially when Levi's at 6, right? Because, now we're talking about life-threatening ranges of damage. If he just takes this 4 going down to 2, that's scary.
It is scary unless you just clap back and not worry about it. I mean, you could definitely just take some damage here, put it in soul. The thing about that is that a soul for Prism is a completely different story than a soul for Bolton. A card in soul for Bolton represents a go again. A card in soul for Prism is potentially 1 damage block from a Spectral Shield, which costs you cards out of hand to generate. So I think that in this case, Bolton is not necessarily worried. Levi can allow this to happen and continue the attack here with a take flight, one of the 7 take flights.
charging a take flight, one of the 7 take flights. He's got just an abundance of take flight. So this is going to be a yellow take flight coming in for 3.
Yellow, yeah.
Two resources, floating card in hand, card in arsenal, but notably not a ton of cards in soul. And that's going to be really important. Just that card that he charged with that take flight. So he can't leverage too much stuff with the go again shenanigans. But it's threatening, right? Like 3 is like half a Prism's life, and could be in a situation where like if their hand's not super great, this is where you commit some cards.
I like this play. So what this does here is, yeah, you're soaking damage. It does not affect the plus value off the take flight. Now, take flight has the go again because of this charge here, but you're floating too. What this says is, if the next attack is scary, I can throw cards in front of it, but I have 2 float that I can also throw some of my equipment in front of it. Or if I just devote cards, the 2 float can represent a Spectral Shield as well, as the Illuminate is in Soul here. So this is Valiant Thrust. Valiant Thrust gets a bonus. It gets extra attack value if you charge this turn, of which the Take Flight did charge your Soul. It's also important to note that charging and putting a card into your Soul are 2 different concepts. They are 2 different things. When Valiant Thrust says look for a charge, it has to be in conjunction with a card going into the Soul off of a quote-unquote charging play. Not, yes. For example, Illuminate goes to Soul, doesn't count as a charge. Take Flight, put a card in your Soul, that's a charge.
Yeah, so it looks like Daniel's going to opt to just block with his equipment using that the floating resource, and Levi's going to match that by giving that Valiant Thrust go again from Bolton's hero ability and then following up with just a good old Lethal Hatchet.
Cash Leaf, why not? And you do have opportunity here to actually toss your non-attack action in front of this. Block the 2. It prevents the buff off of this. No float. Card in arsenal here for Levi. Both players are at the end of it, as close as we can potentially get. So he is going to go ahead and toss in front of this again. No damage leaked on this, on that Axe. Prism, Daniel Johnson, 5-0 with 2, has an opportunity to actually send a Herald back. And we're talking about the overstatted Heralds.
Oh, yeah.
Using 2 cards to block and then sending like a 5, 6, or 7 attack with an on-hit relevance, like this Herald of Ravages, I believe.
Yeah, that's a Ravages. If it's red, it's coming in for 7 with an on-hit effect of 1 arcane damage, which is very scary when you have no arcane barrier, right? I'm not entirely sure what color this is, but either way, it's threatening like a ton of damage. Red would be 7, and then 6, and then 5.
A metric ton.
Yes, it's quite a bit. It's quite a bit. It's a card that says, "Hey, you got to block me, right? You got to block me, and you got to commit, at least a couple cards here." And that's exactly what Daniel needs to do, right? He needs to be like, "Hey, Mr. Bolton, I need cards from you. Otherwise, you're just going to run away with this with all of your charge shenanigans." And we've mentioned that Bolton is very card intensive, and ripping cards out of his hand is just very good. That's what you want to do.
Well, Bolton's a hero that needs to invest into more explosive turns. He needs to charge. You need to have a loaded up Soul in order to actually create go against. He's going to throw 3 cards in front of this Herald, and Daniel Johnson has to feel incredibly happy about that.
Yeah.
The fact that he was able to throw 1 attack and buy 3 cards out of Bolton's hand is enormous, as he's drawing up to 3 more Heralds. This is an Express Lightning for 4. No charge. So you can absolutely throw a 3 block in front of this and not necessarily worry. Not, much like the drinks when I'm playing blackjack, no charge.
No surcharge. I still like the 4 attack, right? It still has really nice breakpoints. I'm very curious as to what they've got rocking in their arsenals here. I've been trying to figure out what Prism has in the arsenal. They just keep looking at it, and I'm like, maybe it's something like a blinding beam or something like that. They've just been sitting on it the whole time. Maybe waiting for an opportunity so they can use it against a popper. That would be my guess as to why they haven't played it yet.
I mean, this hand that Daniel's holding here, he would have loved to have held this when he was at a healthier life total. He's got a Zealous Belting plus all the Heralds you need to make this a 5 go again into something else, but blocking this fully, I think this is just going to be another situation of, I'm going to give you 2 cards and send a Herald. I haven't seen a popper. I don't think you have a popper. I think I'm happy to just go ahead and absolutely bust you up here with an overstatted, like you mentioned, Herald. What color is it? What's the damage potential? But he's got 2 Heralds of Pro here. 2 Heralds of Protection, pitching the blue to send.
It's a 7 attack,
oh,
yeah.
Vicious.
This is
absolutely
a red one.
Vicious.
Yeah, the on-hit on this one is very nasty, too. It gives a Spectral Shield, and when the life totals are this low, the Spectral Shield could be a really big game, right? I mean, also, Bolton is just at 3. So, this is 7, turns out, really good breakpoint, right? And even dealing that 1 point of damage, even if Bolton commits 2 cards to block this, blocking out 6, taking that 1 point, giving that Spectral Shield is, I think it's nasty. Like, you don't want to let them have that.
Well, beyond that, this also, if you create the Spectral Shield, you're now giving Prism an opportunity to block for 3, keep a blue, and swing 4.
Yep, exactly.
And not only that, but the Spectral Shield is going to cover up breakpoints. It's going to keep you in the game. And here are 3 card blocks, one of which is the Iron Hard Legs, but you have to pitch to that. So very, very efficient attacking here from the Prism player. Paying 1 card to cost 3 cards out of hand is an incredible return.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I agree with Levi's play. You got to respect that Spectral Shield, right? You can't just let it go. So we got a nice little
plow through, I believe.
Hatchet action here. So plow through into a hatchet for 4, pitching a spicy little Tome of Divinity.
I saw that one wheel too.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? If you can play it early. I mean, I think the goal is to have it, draw it early, with your Halo, get some craziness going on. But otherwise, it might just be a card that you want to charge with, and I'm okay with that. It blocks for nothing. It costs you 4. I mean, it's a cumbersome card to hold on to.
Yeah, it looks like we have just a Rally the Rearguard block here. Just going to block a little bit and, sure up your life total. I mean, when you're at 2, you can't really let anything leak through, and this is one that's just going to block it all out.
Well, hey, tell me if you've seen this before. How about we pitch to go over the top Sylvester Stallone style? This is an Enigma Chimera. I believe this is a red, which comes in for 8. That is a massive attack. Enigma Chimera, a very valuable card into pretty much every matchup other than the Levi matchup.
Right, yeah. I mean 2 for 8 is like, let's just say it is really, really good Flesh and Blood stats. Very few cards get to that, like, sort of power. And, if you're Levi here, sit at 3 health, 8 is big. It is large. And, what are you gonna do here, Levi? You're like, all right, I gotta block something, right?
Well, that's the trouble here. It's when you are not getting any of the poppers, and this is if there's any kind of negative aspect of being the only Bolton on the board is that you have this abundance of riches, right? You have this embarrassment of riches where late in the game you're taking all the take fights. You're taking all of these great red Bolton cards. You're not worrying about drafting those poppers, those generic 6s, right? Because you have an Express Lightning red or a popper. Screw it. I'm gonna just supercharge this deck. Let's keep going. And at the end of the day here, we do have a 5 attack. And again, this is a very difficult cover-up for Daniel Johnson. It's going to be, but looking at the hand, you might just have another situation of, okay, take 2 cards. Here's another fat, huge Herald.
Like, okay, I'm taking a look at Daniel's hand. I don't know if I see a Herald. I see some non-attacks, which he's putting down. I do see... Ooh.
That's a yellow Illuminate. I believe there's a Seek Enlightenment in hand as well. Not sure what he put down there, but... Yellow Illuminate's not bad. It costs you nothing. I mean, you just toss it on the board. What else is he holding on to? He's looking like those are the 2 cards he's committing to block, or maybe those are the 2 cards he's committing to play. I'm not sure. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. Oh, so it's Seek Enlightenment and the Illuminate are going to be tossed in front of this. No problem. Again, without charging, you don't have the boon of having to deal with those attacks going over the top.
I think there might be a War Tune Herald in the arsenal. And I think we're going to have a pump into the War Tune. Yeah, there we go.
It's a blue baby, but it's okay. It counts. I mean, you're going to hit that nasty break point of 7, and that is real difficult to cover up. And now I think Daniel might be considering, hey, I mean, if I just keep this up, a 1-for-3 card exchange feels really good.
Real nice, especially when, like, the life totals are so low. Like, we're at the point where any kind of explosive turn either way can, really, really seal the deal. But we're at the point where Prism just has the tempo, and they're able to just keep threatening, Levi's entire hand. And if they can just keep this up, then poor Mr. Bolton is not feeling great. And I think this is a way to do it, right? This is a way to do it with your Spectral Shield. into a Herald of Ravages. That's nasty.
Well, what a time to find a dead opportunity to do it a different way. If there was nothing in soul, you could always just open up with a Spears of Surreality to go again, peel the card out of hand, and then come in with the Herald of Ravages. A masterful play on both sides. Levi, with what looked like the deck to beat in the pod, got out-heralded and out-valued by this Prism deck that was just throwing hands.
I mean, I think that really speaks to the power of Prism and Prism's card pool and